The Supreme Court has issued an emergency order keeping Title 42 in place for now. The border policy enacted by the Trump administration allows the U.S. to expel migrants coming across the southern border. Officials at the time said it was meant to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In a 5-4 decision, the justices decided the policy can stay in place as they wait to hear arguments in February. CBS News reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez is here with me in Studio 57 with more on the ruling. So break this down for us. What does this ruling really mean for us?
Good morning, Deborah. The Supreme Court has prevented the Biden administration from immediately ending the so-called Title 42 restrictions along the U.S.-Mexico border, granting a request from 19 Republican-led states that want to see this policy remain in place indefinitely. Title 42 is a public health law dating back to the late 19th century that was first invoked by the Trump administration at the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has allowed the U.S. to expel hundreds of thousands of migrants without giving them an opportunity to request asylum, which is normally something that the U.S. has to do under U.S. and international refugee law. People processed under this policy are not allowed to request asylum on the grounds that their entry could contribute to the spread of COVID-19 here in the U.S. The only caveat is that this policy has not been enforced across the board. It only applies really to people from Mexico and migrants from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. So these migrants will continue to face expulsion to Mexico, and many of them currently are stranded there in northern Mexico, waiting for a chance to seek asylum.
So you've been covering this just extensively. So did the High Court give any reasons for keeping Title 42 in place? I mean, who voted against keeping the policy in place?
No, that's a good question. The conservative majority that voted to keep Title 42 in place indefinitely did not provide specific reasons for doing so, but the justices who indicated that they opposed that move did so. So we know that Justices Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Neil Gorsuch said that they would oppose granting this request from the 19 Republican-led states. And in a dissenting opinion, Gorsuch said that it was improper for the Supreme Court to rule on this matter because he believes federal courts should not be addressing an issue that he believes lawmakers have failed to act on, which is the issue of immigration and border policy. The Congress has not updated the U.S. immigration system since the 1990s. And as you know, Deborah, a lot has changed since then. The country has changed, and the migration flows we're seeing at the border have changed dramatically. And he said that not even the Republican-led states dispute the idea that this policy no longer has a public health justification, because that's very important. At the end of the day, this policy, at least on paper, is designed to stop the spread of COVID, and it was always meant to be a temporary measure tied to the pandemic, not a tool to control migration.
So what's been the response to this ruling from the Biden administration and those Republican-led states?
Well, Republican officials in Congress and in several states across the country have praised the ruling. They have portrayed Title 42 as an effective border policy that they want to see in place for the time being. The Biden administration, meanwhile, has said that it will comply with this ruling while it remains in effect, and that it will continue preparing for the eventual termination of Title 42. But, the White House did say that it is up to Congress to provide long-term solutions to the long-standing issues and challenges that the U.S. has faced along the U.S.-Mexico border. And that's something that was obviously echoed by those justices who did not want to keep Title 42 in place.
Camilo, you cover this so wonderfully. We really need you to keep us up to date on this. Really appreciate your insight here.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.